In this lesson, we're going to cover using expressions inside tasks. Doing this allows you to alter individual properties within a task at runtime. You're going to use the SSIS expression language just like you did with the connection managers, also when you use expressions within tasks. Properties only allow generally for one data type to be accepted, so you might find that whatever you're trying to input into that property needs to be casted to the appropriate data type. In this lesson, we're going to create a package that deletes records from the employee table based on what organization level they have. So if it's an organization level that no longer exists in the company, we want to delete the records. We're going to do this by using variables and expressions, and then we're going to use the expression language inside an execute SQL task to delete these records. So let's go ahead and create a new package called Lesson30. In your Solution Explorer, right-click on the SSIS packages folder and say you want to create a new SSIS package. Then return back to the Solution Explorer and rename it Lesson30. Do you want to rename the package object? Always say yes to that. Okay, and our next step is going to be to create a new connection manager to the AdventureWorks 2008 database. So right-click in the bottom portion and say you want to add a new OLADB connection manager to the AdventureWorks 2008 database. That's correct. Click OK. Again, if you have skipped this lesson and haven't covered how to create connection managers, this is the dialog box to create the connection manager, and you always want to test the connection. And we always rename our connection manager as well to just say the database name, because it could be across different servers. Our next step is going to be to create some package level variables. So again, if you haven't done the variables lesson yet, I'll show you real quickly how to create a variable. If you don't already have the variables window up that I just closed, you can right click in the control flow and say variables, and that'll pop open your variables window. So we want to create two variables in this. First variable is going to be called delete statement. The reason we're doing the delete statement in a variable is just kind of to show you what you can do with the expression language. You can combine two different variables. And this is going to be string data type. Alright, so let's make the value. I'm just going to copy and paste it. This delete statement says, make it bigger here for you to read. Delete from human resources .employees table, and there's a where clause. Where national ID number equals. So we have an incomplete delete statement here, and we're going to create another variable. And we're going to we'll just call this one ID, and we're going to leave it an int data type, but we're going to give it the value of 14. Okay, once we have those variables set, we're going to bring over an execute SQL task. So from your toolbox, drag over an execute SQL task. And just right now we have the task selected. We want to leave it just like this, and press the F4 button, or just go to your properties window. Once you have the properties window up, open the expressions, and we're going to set the properties, the SQL statement source. We're going to manipulate this property inside the execute SQL task. Alright, and then once you have it set to the right property, click the ellipses next to the expression, and we're going to build an expression using our two variables we have. So from the first variable, find the delete statement and bring that down, and you can evaluate the expression to see what you have so far. It looks like just like what we had in our variable. Then we want to concatenate, use the plus, to the ID. And when we try and evaluate this, it's not going to work because for a major reason that we talked about in the first slide. we have two different data types that we're trying to shove into a property that can only accept a string data type. So what we have to do is convert this ID, which is right now an integer, to a string. So to do that, you're going to go to your typecast in your box up top and find the one that converts to a string, which is this one. And you have to give it some sort of length, so let's just go with 10 as the length that it will convert the string to. And then there you go. Once you evaluate the expression, you can get that 14 in there now. So that's the expression we're going to use for this property on the execute SQL task. So go ahead and click OK once you have that, and OK once more. And then we also need to go into our execute SQL task to set what connection manager is using. So double click on your execute SQL task and set the connection to AdventureWorks 2008 and press OK. And now we're ready to run this package. So let's go ahead and from your Solution Explorer, you'll see we do have that the red X on the execute SQL task, but it should disappear once we execute the task, and say execute package. Alright, so it succeeded. The reason we have that red X is because we built that in the expression, so it didn't entirely understand what we were doing. But now if you open up the execute SQL task, you'll see in the SQL statement property it has now inserted our expression in here. Before we ran the package, it was blank, but as soon as we ran the package, it inserted that into that property. And once we click OK again, it's going to show that it validated that execute SQL task is correct. Okay, so that's how we can use expressions inside variables. Let's go ahead and wrap up what we learned in this lesson. Alright, so in this lesson we learned how to alter individual properties within a task at runtime, which we did with the execute SQL task. We used the SSIS expression language to do that. And we even experienced a little bit of a problem where we had to cast the integer data type to a string data type so that it would properly fit into the property that we wanted. So our property only accepted strings. We were trying to insert an integer into it, so we had to cast that data type into a string.